Shadowhunters on there twice. Maybe they should have the #1 spot. I don't know. Okay. Hey, Angels and Biscuits, CSDL here, and today's video is going to be my favorites of 2021. And for this list, it is like entertainment only, so books, movies, TV shows, music, video games, that kind of a list. And it didn't have to be new in 2021, it just had to be new to me. Some things were new in 2021, some things were just new to me. So, I have my list with me, and yeah, let's get right into it. So, I'm going to start with the things that only have one thing in their category. So, we'll start with video games. And the only video game in 2021 that I absolutely loved, which is not that's pretty actually good for me because I don't play a lot of games. So for one to make the list, that's impressive. But the one that made the list was Final Fantasy 14. It was actually a lot of fun. I enjoy playing it a lot. The downside is you do have to, pay for your subscription. They do offer a free trial period, which is great. But, I'm not the biggest fan of games you have to consistently pay for. But this one is really fun. And if you have the money to do it each month, it's worth it and it's fun. And there's just, I know I've said that a lot, but it is. And you can have a lot of cool customizations with your character. You can make them look super cool or just super ridiculous. I lean on super ridiculous. I will try to find a decent picture of my ridiculousness and to show you guys because it's great. It's great ridiculousness. And another cool thing about it is, you can play with your friends or whoever you want. It is cross compatible. Like my boyfriend, who is the one who talked me into trying it, he plays on the PC. I play on the PlayStation 4, and he's like, we could still play together. It's fun. Try it, and I did, and it was a good time. There's two more that just have one, so we'll jump to music. Music. Also, I mean, I love to listen to music, but I generally don't fall in love with music like a lot of people do. I'll put it on as background noise or something, but rarely do I get super invested in specific bands or singers. That whole thing. I don't know. Music's been cool, but it's never been something I've been super invested in. Like say I am a book or a TV show. But this ties into a TV show that's on my list. But I watched Teen Wolf for the first time in 2021, which led me to Tyler Posey, who plays Scott McCall on Teen Wolf. And I did not know he was a singer, but it turns out he is a singer and he has an album that he just dropped in 2021. Drugs is the album, and it is amazing. I I love his style of music so much. I didn't realize until I heard his music and heard him talk about his music in interviews that I actually have a music type, and apparently it's pop punk. It's the kind of music I've listened to since like middle school. I still love it to this day. Like, it's if I'm gonna go and pick something, that's probably what I'm gonna listen to, that or Latin pop, but it just depends on the day. But the stuff I've been listening to since I was in middle school is like pop punk, like Blink 182, Sum 41, Simple Plan, you know, um, that sort of vibe. And his voice and his singing sounds so much like them. The style is so much like them. I fell in love with it so much. It is so good. If you like Tyler Posey, if you liked Teen Wolf, and you didn't know for some reason, like he has music and he sings. You should go listen to his songs or buy his album, buy his merch. I don't know. I know I'm plugging him a lot, but it's good. I loved it so much. If you loved like Blink 182 or Simple Plan, that whole that pop punk style, you're gonna love Tyler Posey. And it's so much nostalgia for me because I haven't heard anything super like that, I guess. It's not something I get to hear very often in the music world, especially that classic pop punk vibe that I grew up with, and it's great. He's great. It's a great album. Yeah. So Tyler Posey's new album, Drugs. Movies also had only one on this list, and that was Halloween Kills. So I didn't even know Halloween had more movies coming. I haven't been keeping up with that franchise, if I'm being honest. But there is a someone on YouTube here that I watch, and he does all kinds of horror movie reviews. And I saw his spoiler-free one of Halloween Kills, and I was like, "What? They have another one?" But based on his review, I'm like, "Well, maybe I'd like this one. It looks neat." And apparently, it was streaming on I think was it Peacock or Paramount? I think it was Peacock. Um, and I have a subscription to that, so I went and checked it out, and it was amazing. Like, as a horror movie, it was so good. As a Halloween movie, it was just amazing. So good. Like, I haven't enjoyed Halloween as much as some people. Like, I'll watch them, they're good, but this one really just blew me out of the water. If you want to see my full thoughts on Halloween Kills, I will leave the blog that I wrote about it in the description, so you can go check that out. I really didn't have any complaints except one, which was just Laurie's hair. I don't know why Jamie Lee Curtis had the hair that she did. That was my biggest complaint. And if that's my biggest complaint about a movie, it did pretty well. Like, and the ending is so frustrating. Like, oh my gosh, but it was good, but it was frustrating. And uh, if you loved the Halloween franchise, even if you don't remember half the stuff that happened in the other movies, which I don't, I honestly I don't remember much from the previous films. I don't even know if I've watched Halloween like 2018, the one that takes place right before the events of Halloween Kills. But it didn't matter. It was still so good, and you didn't necessarily need that context. You can kind of pick up the context that you need from within the movie. At least I thought so. So if you haven't checked out Halloween for a while and maybe want to uh, get back into it, Halloween Kills is a great place to start because it was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. Okay. We can stop gushing about horror movies today. I guess we'll move on to books because TV shows has the most on its list. So for books, we will start with. So next on my list is books, and we will start with a man called Uwe. Sorry if that's wrong, but it is a book by Fredrik Backman, a Swedish author. His books are translated into English. That translator is amazing and deserves some amazing credit there. Let's see, let's give the translator, I have the book right there. Henning Koch. Henning Koch does an amazing job translating this book. I don't know if he's done all of Bachman's books, but this one I think was done beautifully. This is such a beautiful book. It's such a wonderful story. I don't want to give too much away about it. If you haven't read Bachman, I think that is a good place to start. It is, I believe, his first novel, and it is an emotional roller coaster. One thing Bachman does very well is his characters. He is a very character driven writer. When you read his books, you feel like like the protagonist, like Uwe. Uh, you like Uwe, for example. You feel like you know this man. The book follows this older man who is kind of grumpy, and I don't know how to describe this book without giving too much away, but he's kind of depressed, and he is having a hard time with it, with some things that happened in his life, and then he meets these new neighbors. This pregnant woman, her husband, and children, and a cat. And it's kind of this story how they all can help each other, and it's very sweet. And like even the cat has a very fun personality, and it's wonderful. And books don't make me cry that often, but this one made me shed some tears because it's sweet, but it's kind of bittersweet, but it's good. It's good, and you feel like you know this man by the end of the book, like he's a real person, like he's your neighbor, you know him. Bachman is just amazing with his characters, and this it was such a good book, and I would recommend Bachman in general, but A Man Called Uwe in particular, to basically everyone, because it's that good. So next on my list is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare. Now that book is on my other shelf way over there, so I can't go grab it right now, but I have 3 editions of this book. Oh, speaking of other editions, I did grab a Swedish edition before we completely move on from Uwe. I have the Swedish edition of A Man Called Uwe. Amazon had this, and I had to order it when I ordered my regular English copy. Not that I can particularly read this very well, but I like having foreign editions of books, even if I can't read them or can't read them well. This whole shelf is my foreign editions shelf. And back to Red Scrolls of Magic, like I said, I have 3 editions of this book. One is the American hardcover edition that I got at Barnes & Noble. It's the first copy that I got, the first one that I read. The second is an advanced reader's copy, which I won as a prize through an Instagram contest hosted by Cassandra Clare, and that edition is so cool, so fun. I don't, I've never had an advanced reader's copy before, so that is fun, and it's cool. And I also got a little Malik pin, and it's good. And the third is a Spanish edition that I got off of Amazon because it was there, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I've been working on my Spanish lately, so maybe that one I will actually be able to read at some point. So, The Red Scrolls of Magic was the first book I've ever read out of the Shadowhunters books. That is super out of order. It takes place like halfway through the Mortal Instruments book series. That being said, I may have started out of order, but I enjoyed the book so much without even having context, which I think says a lot about this particular little spin-off. It's kind of like a spin-off or a side story, I guess, with Magnus and Alec. But even without having all the context of having read the first 3 Mortal Instruments, I still really enjoyed the book. And then I read that in like January or February of 2021. So it was like one of the first books that I read. And then after I had watched the show and started reading the books, I read the first three Mortal Instruments, and then I reread Red Scrolls of Magic, and I had context, and it felt even better with the context. I mean, it was great without, but it was like so much better when you have the context. There's things that make a lot more sense. Things just had more feeling behind them, even like why they were on vacation. I didn't have the context of the war with Valentine prior to when I didn't read the first three Mortal Instruments, so I didn't really have the context of why they were having this trip together, or what that whole party and the Valentine's defeated, yay, like I didn't have the context behind that. So after having the context, it was better, and it's still, out of the Shadowhunter books that I have read so far, Red Scrolls of Magic is still my favorite, and it was my introduction to Shadowhunters, so it has a special place in my book heart. I love it a lot. Now, that brings us to the last book on the book section of my favorites list, and it is a manga. And it is a great manga. And I have, let's see, volume 1 like right here. So, A Man and His Cat. This manga is so wholesome and sweet, and it I don't know how to talk about this without just gushing about how wholesome and sweet it is. This man goes in to buy a cat because his wife passed away, and she always wanted a cat, and they were going to get a cat, but they didn't it didn't work out that way. So he goes to get a cat, and there's all these cute little kittens, and he picks the one that everybody thinks is ugly, and he brings them home, and they bond, and it's so sweet. And this whole story is just him and his cat, and these sweet stories of him bonding with this cat. And this cat has dialogue too, like you see the cat's thoughts, you see how he can't believe that this man brought him home, like me. And it's so sweet, and it's wholesome. And even if you're not the biggest manga lover, if you love cats, you know and sweet wholesome stories, you should check this out. Like, if you liked this one, A Man Called Uwe, you'd probably like this. And the man is less grumpy. Okay, the old man is kind of sweet and charming. So like, it's not even a grumpy man at first. Like, Uwe does soften up, I think, at some point, but it takes him a lot of the book. But this guy starts out really sweet, and it's wholesome. I know I've said wholesome a lot, but it's wholesome. It's like this book, this manga, this series. There are currently 4 volumes out. Five is coming this month, January 2022, and it's just it's so good. I really don't know what else to say about it, because you should just check it out and read it, and bask in its sweetness and wholesomeness. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned who it was by. A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakurai. So that genius, okay, genius author. Even the back is cute. Okay, look at the cute. Look at look at. I used to read a lot more manga than I do now, and I am so glad that this was picked up for me, because it is amazing, and I am super glad that like, when I decide to start reading manga again, it was A Man and His Cat. Also, typical cat shenanigans. It's really sweet, and like, he likes to take the pictures of his cat and just show everyone. Like, there's just so many relatable, wholesome things in here. Like, if you've ever owned a cat, this yes, and so good. It's so good. Check out A Man and His Cat. We have hit the long list portion of the video, which is TV shows. I love to binge television. Yeah, I'm kind of a night owl, so I typically have something playing, at night while I'm doing other stuff or reading. So I get through a lot of TV. That's why this is the longest part of my 2021 favorites. Oh, so before I get into the shows on the list, I would like to point out, like, because books and TV do have uh, multiple things on them, there is no particular order. Like, one is not more my favorite than the other. They're all just my favorites of the year. Anyway, so the first one on my TV shows list is Shadowhunters. After reading Red Scrolls of Magic, I binged the TV show and I loved it. I know some book fans do not because it deviates a lot from the books, but I didn't mind. I liked a lot of the changes that they made. I thought, as its own show, you know, it's good. It's still Shadowhunters, but different. I loved it. I love it so much. Like, Magnus Bane is probably my new favorite cosplay, and I do cosplay Magnus based on the show, um, not really from the books. But it's easier with the show because you have a visual to work with, and you have multiple angles and outfits and things. But yeah, the show is amazing. I fell in love with it. Book fans that maybe haven't checked it out, check it out. Or if you just like supernatural fantasy, check it out. If you love it, you love it. If you hate it, you hate it. And that's fine. We can have different fandom opinions here. Next I have on the list is a animated show, and that is Sonic Boom. My boyfriend actually showed me this as YouTube clips, and I was like, "What? Is that a real show?" Because it was hilarious, and I'm like, they wouldn't put that in a TV show, would they? It's like not that it was bad, it was just clever and funny humor, and I haven't seen that in a cartoon in a long time, so I was like, I haven't finished Sonic Boom yet, but I have seen, a good chunk of episodes, and it is consistently funny. And yes, those clips were real. They were not like a parody or something. It's hilarious. If you want to watch something funny and you like Sonic Boom is great. Next up, another animated cartoon, and that is All Hail King Julian Exiled. I think this one was better than All Hail King Julian. Look, did I put that on there too? No, I left All Hail King Julian off. Um, I think it was just less impressive overall with the humor, but All Hail King Julian Exiled had excellent humor for a cartoon. It was engaging. I loved it. It was fun. My favorite things about the Madagascar movies were like King Julian and the penguins. So an entire show on King Julian was kind of entertaining for me, and Exiled really stepped up the game. Just saying. Next up, sticking with animated cartoons, Disenchantment Season 4. Or Part 4. Not sure how they do that. It's probably a season. But their season 4 dropped in 2021, and it was good. I liked it. They left me on the worst cliffhanger, though. I hate when shows do that, especially shows like Disenchantment that will drop the whole season and then make you wait like another whole year before you get more anything, more. But I was entertained, and I love Disenchantment. I cosplay Bean on occasion, and I have like a bunch of little Lucy. I have 2 plushes and a Funko Pop. That one was a gift, and it is great. But I've loved Disenchantment since season 1. I don't know if it's my favorite of Matt Groening, because I really love Futurama too, but Disenchantment's medieval fantasy vibes, I kind of like that more than the futuristic, stuff of Futurama. But Futurama has a lot of good, clever humor. So does Disenchantment, and it's like I'm torn between them because Disenchantment is very well done, and I can't wait for more, despite them leaving me on the worst cliffhanger of all time. Okay, so we have dabbled back into live action television, and um, next up on my favorites of television was Why Women Kill, particularly season 2. So, Why Women Kill in general was new to me in 2021. The first season got binged pretty quickly, and then the second season we actually had to wait. My mom and I watched this one together, and we had to wait for the episodes to come out weekly, and it hurt. I haven't had to do that for a lot of shows in a long time. And but Why Women Kill is on Paramount Plus, and it's so fun, and it's uh like it feels like it's a comedy, mixed with a thriller, because you know who the killer is, right? You know why they're doing it typically. Nothing's really a mystery, but the writing is very good, and the dynamics between the characters is very good. Like season 1 and season 2 are a little different. Season 1, you follow 3 different couples, and it's from 3 different generations that have lived like in the same house. Um, and what happened to each of them. It jumps back and forth a lot between the different times. I think one was the 60s, 50s or 60s. The other was the 80s, and the other was, like the modern era, 2020 or, something like that. And that was pretty neat. I'm usually not big on jumping around so much, but, it was fun, it was funny, and the kills were fun, even though it sometimes takes a while to get there. And then the one is actually kind of sad, not fun or not deserved, and that makes you feel bad. But that's kind of great. They put a story in there that wasn't all like revenge or just like crazy person, uh, jealousy, stuff like that. So there's some of that too. And then season 2 follows one story, one couple, and they're so fun. They become like a murder couple together, and it's the woman is the focus, but she ends up roping her husband into things. And if you liked Shadowhunters, fun fact, Matt Daddario, who plays Alec Lightwood, he's in season 2, and he is great. He's one of my favorite things about the season 2 of Why Women Kill. But season 2 I think was better than season 1, and I think that's just because you could focus on, a certain set of characters, and you didn't have to go back and forth and take time away, from each character to focus on others. Like you could just focus on your core set and have them more developed. And I think that's why season 2 did better. The characters were better. It was just overall a better time. And if you like, murder shows, check out Why Women Kill. Do it. Jumping to a CW show, which those are either a hit or a miss for me, but we have Superman and Lois. I'm not the biggest DC fan, but I've had a soft spot for like Superman as Clark Kent. Like Smallville, for example, was or still is one of my favorite shows of all time, and that follows Clark before he was Superman and how he um, learned to control his powers and abilities and the relationships he had along the way, how his powers and his secrets affected them, and meeting Lois and all this other stuff. And Smallville's great. And this Superman and Lois gives me a lot of those Smallville vibes that I've I've missed, I've missed a good show like that. And Superman and Lois follows, Superman after he's married Lois. So Clark and Lois are together. They have two kids, two teenage sons, twins, and the story follows them as a family. They move back to Smallville after Martha Kent dies to, take over the farm again, live on the farm, and the shenanigans ensue from there. So that's kind of where the story starts. And my biggest problem with Superman and Lois is one of the twins, but like not every character is going to be perfect. I'm not going to love every character. Just one of the twins really drives me off the walls. But overall, it's a really good show. And Tyler the Hecklin, is that how you say that? I'm sorry if that's also wrong. But he plays a wonderful Clark Kent, um, and I think the person playing Lois, I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head, but she is also doing a wonderful job. I sort of wish they could have got back like Kristen Kruk, who played Lana Lang in Smallville, if they could have brought her back to play Lana in this. But that's just, me being a Smallville fan with wishful thinking. But if you were a fan of Smallville, you'd probably like Superman and Lois. But yeah, so maybe check it out. Next up is, I believe, Modern Family. Yes, yes, it is. So I know Modern Family has ended a few years ago. I had never seen it before, 2021. Uh, but I wish I had because it is so funny. The sitcom humor in that show is like superior humor. It's so good. I loved it so much. Like every episode has you laughing at something and it's good. It's like it got binged so fast. This is another one I watched with my mom. She likes a good comedy show too, and this is one that we binged through so quickly because it's so good. You just want to keep watching, and the episodes are short, which is a perk. So it doesn't really feel like you're watching a lot because they're so short. But then you stop, and it's like, oh, I've watched like 6 of them already. Might as well keep going. And Modern Family's sitcom style has inspired a lot of my recent cosplay skits. So there's also that. I love when they sit down and talk to the camera. That's like one of my favorite things about their sitcom style, and it's just so funny. If you haven't watched Modern Family and you like sitcoms, that's a good choice. Next up, moving back to the fantasy genre, we have Teen Wolf. Now, Teen Wolf was airing, I think, when I was in high school yet, or it started when I was in high school. Pretty sure. Oh, wait, they had flip phones. They must have. And it was so hyped. This was also the same reason I never read the Mortal Instruments series because it was just so hyped. Also, that came out, I think, when I was a freshman. The first book, anyway. So when things get super hyped, it's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to read that. I don't know why I do that because I usually end up loving the thing that was hyped. But I do that sometimes, and I did that with Shadowhunters, the books, and I did that with Teen Wolf. But after watching Superman and Lois and realizing Tyler Hoechlin was Derek in Teen Wolf, I'm like, well, I like him as an actor. let's try Teen Wolf. And so I tried Teen Wolf and I super loved it. There were seasons I didn't like very much. There are things about it that I don't like, but overall, I really do love Teen Wolf. Like, no show is going to be perfect. There are things I'm going to have issues with, particularly in supernatural shows. I am a little bit pickier, but overall, like, I love the characters. I even love a lot of the female characters, and that's unusual for me because I just generally don't like the way shows, especially fantasy shows, write female characters. I don't know why. Some of them are good. They're just I I don't care for them, or they're not for me. But I like a lot of them in Teen Wolf. It was, I gotta stop saying it was good. Anyway, it also got me into wanting to read more werewolf books. I generally am not the biggest werewolf person, but I've noticed the last few years I've been more open to werewolves and werewolf things, and I've acquired a few new werewolf books and werewolves in TV shows are more interesting to me now. And I've always been a vampire person, you know. I still love vampires. That hasn't changed. I've just been loving werewolves more. And recently, I think Teen Wolf has helped with that since, you know, it is a werewolf focused show, even though they do introduce other supernatural creatures. I think what season 2 and 3 is where we really get to uh, delve into those more. Um, yeah, so as overhyped as it was, it's still worth the watch. I still very much enjoyed it, and you know, it has really good humor for a supernatural show, which I think they pair really well together, humor and supernatural TV. And a lot of the humor comes from Styles, who is probably the best character on that show. I'm hoping to do a Styles cosplay at some point in the near future. He is comedy gold. I just love him. Like, I went in for Tyler Hecklin and Derek, and then I stayed for Styles. Like, I love Scott too. Uh, Scott, I have some words I want to say to Scott McCall, but overall, I think, you know, I love Scott more than I love Derek, even mainly because I don't think we got enough screen time for me to want Derek as like a favorite character. They kind of put him on the back burner after a few seasons, which it's fine, but you know. So Styles does steal the show in Teen Wolf for me, and he's not even a werewolf, and that okay, that did upset me a little bit that he gets. I mean, I get gotta have like the one human in the group, but like his best friend is the alpha werewolf, right? He could have given Styles the friendship nip because he was still within the age where he probably wouldn't die from the werewolf bite. I'm just saying, werewolf Styles would have made me so happy. Okay, it just okay. Anyway, so the last show on this list is the most recent show that I've watched. Literally watched it in December, and that is The Witcher. Seasons 1 and 2, because season 2 dropped in December. So I this is another situation where I avoided it because it was so hyped and mistakes were made. I should have watched it anyway because of Henry Cavill, and Henry Cavill is a national treasure, and he's like the king of the nerds, and there is so much to love about Henry Cavill. But as a show, ugh, like I really loved it. I mean, I have my Witcher medallion here that I just recently acquired. Like I am going all into this fandom. I think season 1 was a little confusing when you watch it the first time because it takes you a few episodes to realize that they are kind of jumping back and forth between different times. Like Geralt's storyline is a different timeline than Ciri's and Yennefer's. Eventually, they all intersect, but like it takes a while to catch up to what they're doing. Um, However, maybe if you've read the books, it makes little sense because I just read The Last Wish, and that is where a lot of season 1's inspiration comes from. And they do that in The Last Wish. So maybe book people would have been less surprised. Season 2, it was much more, it was a linear timeline. There was no like jumping around, so it was easier to follow. I know book and game fans were a little more disappointed in season 2. I've only read one book, but I am told that they do start to deviate a lot more in season 2. So, that is what it is, but I still enjoyed it as a season. Geralt got more speaking lines, though I think he could have used more screen time, but maybe I just enjoy seeing Henry Cavill on the TV, you know, because he's Henry Cavill. But Geralt is my probably favorite character, so I am also biased to wanting to see more of him. I could do with less Yennefer, but that's also because she's my least favorite. Jaskier and Ciri, I love them both. Ciri is going to, be there a lot because a lot of the plot revolves around her. Jaskier could also get more screen time because he is an amazing character and I love the Bard so much. He also wrote like the best breakup ballad of the century, but anyway, yeah. So obsessed with The Witcher. I am now reading the books. I have The Witcher 3 for my PS4. It was on sale, so I will also be trying the games. Like I am diving hard into the fandom, and if you like, medieval fantasy, you're probably going to like The Witcher. If you like Henry Cavill, you would probably like The Witcher. And he gets a lot of cool fight scenes. I think it's really cool that he does his own stunts. Like, there's so much, like, amazingness surrounding the show because I think a lot of it's because of Henry Cavill. Like, I do wonder if the show would have done nearly as well without him. He's also a fan of the books and the games, so he brings a lot of the fandom to the show because he's knowledgeable, and I love that when the actor is a fan of the work that they're doing, and it's great. It's great. It's good. It's good. We're going back to it's good. Ugh. So Witcher seasons 1 and 2. I will also be doing a review for The Witcher, a blog and a video, and when those are completed, I will leave those links in the description. But yeah, so those were all my favorites of 2021. If you like this video, I'd always appreciate a like, a comment, or a subscribe. Uh, if you want to comment below what your favorites of 2021 were, I would love to hear them. I'm always looking for new stuff to check out, and I will see you guys next time.